Welcome. Okay. We're going to do some weird stuff with the computer. That's fine. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Mark Adam. I am here in my home office doing the recording of the LZ Sports Show for another week. It is now Sunday. We're just starting like maybe 2 minutes late. Sorry about that all. And we do have the little chat box that you can use right here just to say hi and whatnot. But just so you know, I have my kids here. So I will throw their names on there too. Look. Boop. Boop. There we go. Jamie and Amelia. They're my kids. So it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's a lot of stuff going on dad-wise. And speaking of dads, we have a dad joining us today. This is Neutral Zoner, all the way from his home. How are you doing today, sir?
Happy Father's Day, everyone. Yeah, doing well.
Excellent.
And happy Father's Day to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, right.
They're the Jets' daddy.
Yeah, apparently. And their bench dad is sick right now, so we'll get into that a little bit later on. That said, let's bring in our other co-host that we normally have on here because he likes to join us. This is the guy.
Every now and again. Hello, everyone. Happy Father's Day to you both. Hi, girls.
He's saying hi to you. The girls, hold on. Let me set this up so they can hear you. I'm not really sure how to make all that work. I didn't think all of this through, to be completely fair. Hi, girls. See, come on in here. Lean in. There we go. Ha! Yay! You want to say anything to people out there?
Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Hope you have a great day.
There you go. Happy Father's Day. Excellent. So Zoner over here is a dad, and this guy over here has a car that he treats like his kid. So, like, it's almost like he's a dad. So, yeah, good times. So I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Thank you so much for being here. And they gave me some really cool presents today, which was really nice. I got a hoodie and I got a Jets mug where the handle is a hockey stick. And yeah, it says #1 fan, which I appreciate. But you guys are great. Thank you so much. And you guys enjoy whatever you're watching up there, your movie or whatever, okay?
I want to stay here in the show.
You want to stay on the show? Okay. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now.
Oh, awesome.
All her sports knowledge.
These kids, I tell you.
What's their favorite sport?
Zoner's asking, what's your favorite sport?
Soccer? Hockey.
Hockey.
Okay.
Hockey.
Awesome. We can work with that.
And yours?
Soccer?
Soccer. Oh, that's good. That's the two halves of the show today. And she's got my mug on her head. There's the mug. There's the mug, and it's got the hockey stick handle. Don't do that. You're going to break it. I haven't even cleaned it to use it yet. Let's not break it before I get a chance. Kids, man, I tell you can't have nice things. It's not a thing. Okay. Well, no, we're not going to be climbing on me, okay? We have a whole 2 hours of sports to talk about now. I know, but I'm not a jungle gym today. But we're going to be spending the whole evening together as soon as I'm done the recording. So go watch your movies, and we'll see you after. And we're all going to hang out, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Get out of here, Mouth.
The dog's in here too. There's too much body heat. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time, she said.
Yeah, see you next time.
See you next time. Oh, man. Anyway.
Nail Zakapov. Yeah, see you next time.
Okay. So, thank you for indulging me, folks. I wanted to have the girls on here and get them going, and the logistics of this tiny space were not something I really thought through. So, all right, let's.
It's the family HQ as well, right? It's not just the Winnipeg Magazine LZ Sports Show.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's just the way it works, my man. It's the HQ for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's get to business here. We got. We're going to talk about some positive and negatives. So let's get into that right now. Positive, negative. What were what are some of the good things that we have going on with the team right now, and what is a negative that we have to change before we start the next season? That is a question that I want to throw out there. Let's start with you, Mr. McKnight. Give me your thoughts. What needs to change?
Definitely not the coaching.
Okay.
The coaching is not the problem. Paul Maurice has a winning record here. I liked when Blake Wheeler said that he wouldn't want to play for anyone else that he would consider retirement. However true that may be, that's just the effect that, head coach Pomo has. So that's something that doesn't need to change. And look, I don't want to name names, but there's some guys here who have been here way too long for the Jets' tenure, and we've been waiting on them to just get it going. There just needs to be some trades, and I mean an overhaul. Like, I'm even choking on my own words. Like, an overhaul of trades right now, and they just need to accept the fact that maybe this team might be in a rebuilding process, because clearly what they have went with has not worked.
So you're saying that we need more of a. Sorry, I'm just trying to get square to the frame here. But so you're saying we need to blow it up. Like that was our window when we missed it, and it's time to rebuild. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, 10 years is a very long time, and you can't. And I question the longevity of even Kevin Shovel-Dayoff's tenure here as a general manager. It's because how in any professional, I should have looked this up before the show because it's always on my mind, which general manager has been with one team and has not gotten, a championship. We've only had one decent playoff run, and, where you just have to move on too from things in the front office, maybe the outlook there too. So I think that's something that should be considered. That should be questioned as well. And that's why it's like, is he afraid to make moves? Does he not want to be a mover and a shaker, let alone head into a boardroom somewhere, make those calls and be a taker? And I think that he's just afraid to ask those questions. There's a lot that needs to be done, and I'm questioning his strength as a general manager to make the moves that he's supposed to be making, and especially being here for 10 years. 10 years is we're celebrating a milestone here with the city, the team, and the return here of the Winnipeg Jets. And there should be more that we should be celebrating than just this one milestone by now. And it's okay to move on from players. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. So then I guess let's throw that to Zoner. Zoner, what are your thoughts on what Mr. McKnight just threw out there? Do you think it's a rebuild time, or do you think it's time to double down on that article you wrote where you wrote about in Chevy we trust?
I think it's all about Chevy and window management. And right now, I think the window is still open. I think we're a lot closer than what Mr. McKnight is saying. I think if we start with the positives, the forward depth is really good and really young, surprisingly young. Blake Wheeler's the oldest guy, and after that's it's Scheifele and Lowry, right? But the rest of the guys who are signed are all younger than 28. So that's tough to beat, which means the guys you have now, you can expect them to continue improving. So Kyle Connor's already an elite sniper. He might, he's going to be good for at least a few more years of 30 plus goals. And Nick Ehlers showed us something else, hitting another level. I think the forward core is pretty set. They just need to figure out that mix, though. The same as how the Oilers had all these young guys who played the exact same way back when Taylor Hall was there. They just need to figure out the mix. And this year they seem to have found it with, adding gritty guys like Nate Thompson and Trevor Lewis. And yet in the playoffs, you saw that Chevy didn't trust them a lot with ice time. Even that triple overtime, I saw the ice in overtime. The overtimes, did they?
Those are the guys that you want to have on the ice. And I agree with you saying that, because I remember Kevin Olszewski was saying to me that, when we were at 1290, he asked, it's is Kyle Connor the guy you build this franchise around? And those are names that should be there. And the younger guys there are the ones who seem hungrier, and they didn't get that trust and faith. So yeah, not to contradict my words of saying that we need to make some moves here, boys, but those names that Zoner just said are not guys that I want to see going, because, those are the younger ones who are really showing what they can do, coming into their own. And when they're finding that chemistry, I just think that there's some of the guys that have been here since the inception of the Jets, it's like with the way that we're heading, I just don't think they're fitting in. Who started here before those younger guys? And Kyle Connor came in. What was it? Was it 2016, 2017? As the team started to grow, the team started to get older. So those are the guys that, like you said, why weren't they given the ice time that they deserve? Because those are the ones that seem hungry. Those are the ones that want to win. And I just think that the way that they're playing, the older guys who are kind of declining now in their years just aren't able to keep up with them. And it's time that we bring in more younger guys.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But the biggest hole though in the Jets team is the defense, right? And that's well known by everyone. Even the reporters from Toronto know.
Yes.
Right, so
that's actually a good dig. I like that because they generally think that Toronto is the end of the world and anything outside it doesn't matter. But they have recognized that the defensive core of the Winnipeg Jets is a weakness. So continue.
So they've got a few big decisions coming up this offseason. There's a lot of UFAs on the roster from last year that you have to decide what you want to do with them. There's a few RFAs too. So Neil Pionk is a defenseman who needs to be re-signed. Logan Stanley is actually an RFA too.
And I'm questioning him before I don't mean to interrupt, but before I forget about him, like as he's an RFA, do you think he's going to want to be exposed in the expansion draft?
Does he want to be exposed, or does the team want to expose him?
Okay, well, maybe now it's a two question. Maybe answer mine, and then you can answer the one you just put in my head now, please.
I mean, for him, I think as a young player, it's a bit of a crapshoot joining an expansion team because they're not all going to be like Vegas, right? They're not all going to be playoff teams right off the bat. And being stuck on an expansion team that's doing poorly can really affect how much you love the game. So if you look at the Buffalo Sabres, what's happening right now with Jack Eichel, who looks miserable, right? Every time he's on the ice. And even Ryan O'Reilly, who was there, and when he left, he said that, I don't love hockey the way I used to before I joined this organization, right?
I can't believe you're saying that because you can see the look on Jack Eichel's face, to quote you on that, actually. And now you're answering. It's like, why does he always look so depressed? I thought that would be a good opportunity for him. And even Taylor Hall said in one of his interviews, it's like, things just didn't work out in Buffalo. And, Jack's a really good player. And like he said, he just didn't work out. And I see why now. So, no kidding, Zoner. Thank you for attesting to that.
Yeah. So losing has a way of, all these guys in the NHL, they grew up winning, right? Like the reason they're where they are now is they're successful, and to be successful, you're probably good enough to will your team to win when you're that young, right? And
that's correct.
Now that you're in the pros and you're stuck in a team that hasn't seen the playoffs in 5, 6, 7 years. So what I'm saying is that first, not Logan Stanley, does he want to join an expansion team? Because you're not guaranteed to land in a perfect situation like Vegas, right? Like that has never happened before in NHL history with the expansion teams.
To be fair, though, with the expansion before, the rules were incredibly different. Now the rules are set up to favor the incoming team. So, and a lot of credit goes to the Vegas GM. And
he ran the Capitals, right, boys?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mike McPhee, I think it was.
Yeah, but he made so many backdoor deals and backroom agreements and handshake sort of contracts and stuff like that before that draft went down that he was a genius about it. So the situation exists where Seattle can capitalize on the same exact system as what George McPhee and the Vegas Golden Knights did.
And they hired Ron Francis. Sorry, Zoner.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's all I was just going to say. They hired Ron Francis, I believe, right?
Yeah, who has a lot of experience with Carolina. Yeah.
So anyway, the system isn't the same as before. So that was kind of my point where you were talking about how, you can't get a perfect situation like Vegas, but the situation has been absolutely teed up by the NHL, and it's just sitting there for Seattle to take it. So, whether that changes Logan Stanley's mind or not, I don't know. But watching what happened in Vegas and what is currently happening still, because they're still playing. So what is currently happening in Vegas, that should be pretty encouraging for someone like Logan Stanley. So anyway, continue with your thought. I'm sorry to.
When you guys talk about the defensive core, what do you think that have the both of you lost faith in Tucker Poolman? Because the reason I haven't is because I watched a lot of his highlights when he was playing at UND, and I was like, wow, this guy plays a Dustin Byfuglien style defensive game in the college system, and I just hope he figures it out. And do you think he's falling through the cracks here? That's a question for the both of you, please.
Yeah. I think Poolman is one of those players where just wide-ranging potential hits, like, what is his actual max skill? Like, he does show improvement year over year, but is it enough to say that he's ever going to be an elite defenseman in the league? I don't think he's going to get to that Shea Weber sort of level where he sort of anchors your franchise. I don't know. I lose that I had faith in him or had expectations of him previously, which kind of isn't the case. I've been watching his career. I think he's a good player. I think when they gave him a shot, it was later than they should have. He should have had a shot earlier. And whether that stunted his development or not, I don't know. It's, one of those things you could go back and argue till you're blue in the face about, well, if they had done this, then this would happen, So I don't know. I'm not enchanted with Poolman. I don't know if I'm losing faith so much, but I'm definitely not sold on him as being, somebody that the franchise can lean on forever. So I don't know if that helps. Zoner, what are your thoughts on that?
He's 28, turning 29 soon, and I think what we're seeing now is kind of where he's going to be. Like this is his potential. He's going to be on a team like the Jets. He's still going to be a number 5 or 6 defenseman. Like, I don't think he deserves to be a top 4 guy, and we've been playing him like a top 4 guy in some games.
Well, and that's been our depth problem.
Yeah. Yeah, like he should be a 5 or 6, but we've been pulling him at number 4, and it's showing. He doesn't. So Keith is right. He shows flashes, right? Like he dangles, he puts, makes these highlight reel kind of plays, but they're kind of outnumbered by the opposite highlight, where he's given the puck up for no reason. He throws a pass up the middle to the wrong colored jersey, like that. He's got size. He can skate, but for whatever, the same reason why not everyone's a superstar. I don't see it in him. I think this might be it. Like, this is kind of what we see is what we get.
I think you might be correct. I think there's something to be said about that. And it's hard to look at Tucker Poolman and think this guy is going to be one of your core guys, If he's a 5th or 6th defenseman, but he's a good 5th or 6th defenseman. Don't get me wrong. But he's not one of those guys that you want anchoring a power play. He's not one of those guys that you're completely confident with on a penalty kill. He's not out there, like Zoner said, it's not like he's throwing up more good than bad. So, where does he sit? As far as our unfortunate, like, all year, everybody talked about the Jets' depth, like how deep the Jets are. But they never said the word on the front end, which is really a good qualifier for what the Jets were this season, which is very deep on the front end. And we're really, really not so much on the back. And, it only got talked about around the trade deadline Like, what do we need to add? Oh, well, we're not quite so deep on the defensive side. We need to add like an Ekholm or somebody like that. And then we got Jordy Ben, and their sixth defenseman, sure, and a good one, but not a core team kind of guy. Does that answer your question?
And I talk about him because, maybe some guys just can't pan out in the pro game, and it started to resonate with me that he might be the Carmelo Anthony of the National Hockey League.
Okay.
We'll have to talk basketball later.
That's a whole other show. When Winnipeg gets an NBA team, we'll start talking about NBA a little bit more.
Hey, Todd McCulloch is from Winnipeg, and he could have played in 3 NBA finals in a row. So that is a topic for another day, and he's from Winnipeg.
Yes.
I don't want to raise my voice.
There you go. There's a Winnipeg connection.
Continue. I saw him once at St. Vital Center.
Now he's a pinball champion, and now he's a championship car salesman, I believe, in Calgary.
Oh, nice.
Did you say you saw him play at the St. Vital?
He went at St. Vital Center when he was a high schooler, and
no way!
He was gigantic. Like, he was in line in front of me at the movie theater. I was like, oh, please God, don't be sitting and watching the same movie I am, because with my luck, he'll be sitting right in front of me, right? Yeah.
Oh man!
For those of you who don't know, he's 7 feet tall and 300 pounds. He's a big guy.
He just had that unfortunate injury in his feet there. Something to do with his nerve system, and the poor guy just couldn't. And I said, "What?" Oh my God. Yeah. He went to Shaftesbury High School, so I know we got some viewers out there. I know there's one of you out there next door there. So shout out to Shaftesbury High School.
There you go. Yeah. So I think we're beating this dead horse. We're getting close to the episode where we really have to nail in who our choices are for who we protect, and then we'll have that huge discussion. Until then, if you're watching live, throw it in the chat or comment below. Pardon me, if you're watching after this is live, we'd love to know what you think on that front. So let's move on real quick. How about them Habs?
Oh my goodness. How about them?
They are surprising a lot of people. I think on that list are the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Winnipeg Jets, and so far a very frustrated Vegas side. So that they are playing some really, really good hockey. What's been the key for them, and why couldn't the Jets figure that out? Let's go to you, Mr. McKnight. What's the key right now for...
Actually, I've been hogging the mic, and it's not because I didn't do my homework on this. Please, Zoner, let's hear what you have to say for this, please.
Well, the key is he is trying to steal the series. Vegas was all over them. I think the Canadians had 13 shots in goal by the end of the third period. Andre Fleury changed the whole series, right? Like, Vegas was destined to win that game. They were all over them. He let in that one long shot by Peter Angelo, which showed us that yes, Price is a human being. But if shots, my buddy from Kamloops was telling me that is the place you shoot as a defenseman when you don't know where you're going to put it. Just shoot it hard and low, blocker side, just above the pad, just below the blocker. Because goalies have trouble reaching down there because they're caught in between. Either you raise your leg or you lower your hand, and it's kind of in between, and you get them stuck. If you shoot it hard enough and low enough, you'll get them. So Gary Watson, you're right.
Yes, I always go blocker side, and that's why I got Mark saw all my hat trick pucks here, so I can vouch for them.
Yeah.
So,
same thing, right?
But after that goal, like, Price made 3 unbelievable saves, right? Like, just out of his mind, out of this world. He kept them in that game. The overtime, to Montreal's credit, the offense picked it up. Like, it was a much more even overtime than it was regulation time.
Right.
They were able to capitalize on their chance. What a move by what's his name? Byron?
Yeah, but Byron.
Yeah, like, It's what patience. A lot of guys would just fire the puck away, right?
And then and how good is how much? It's just that series is chaos. Everything is happening all the time. It's nuts. It's very, very exciting. And we were talking about how it's a much more exciting series than the Islanders in Tampa, unless you count the last 2 minutes of last night's game.
Well, last night's game changed my mind. Holy crow! And it wasn't just the last 2 minutes. That whole game was better. And I think it's just because the Islanders are up. Or were they up?
No, they're tied now.
They're tied. No,
yes, they are.
In terms of the gameplay, the Islanders were leading 3-0, and that forced Tampa to unleash the hounds, right? As Mr. Burns would say. And so they were no longer set in their defensive mind thing. They just unleashed Stamkos, unleashed Kucherov. Go get him. Go get a goal. Yeah. And man, they're good. The only thing they couldn't do is score that third one, right?
Oh man, and when they turned it on, all of a sudden it became it looked like that game was absolutely well in hand when it was 3-0, and all of a sudden you've engaged the Tampa Bay offense, as you said, and then it's 3-2, and then the end of that game, the last couple of seconds, McDonough and that spin around, and then Pulock throwing himself across the blue paint because Varlamov was, I don't even know where the hell he was. I don't think he knew where he was. Somewhere out at the face-off dot for some reason. It was chaos. Chaos. Yeah. Can you imagine if he had scored that goal?
Yeah, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the series being a snooze fest, that was definitely game 3. I literally fell asleep during game 3. But game 4, holy, that was...
Yeah, I think the Islanders at home, after losing that first one at home, they're like, wait, this isn't good. We're down to Tampa Bay side that has a couple of cups recently, and they know what they're doing. They're no stranger to the playoffs, and that was chaos. But I still think that overall the style of play is much more exciting in the Vegas-Montreal series.
Mm-hmm.
It's more wide open, end-to-end, smash people, chaos. Do we go into how poor the referee or what? Is that a dangerous road?
In this basketball. So maybe I will shut my mouth.
There's actually a funny story about that. There's a in the league who actually got a bonus for how many penalty minutes he got, and so he was about to get a minor, and then he talked to the refs. Said, an extra 10 minutes. He said, why? It's I get over I get a bonus. And he said, well, you got to say something. For that he told him, and then the ref threw him out of the game.
I'm so unimpressed about that.
Yeah, that makes me sad. But it's funny on the surface, but it's evidence of a deep-rooted issue with the game itself. Yeah, but so anyway, the refereeing in that series has not been sort of a two-way street as much, and it's been in a lot of the media, not Montreal, and some things that real, not just in that kind of on the, and then it was the other end was the and you say, sorry, boss.
The Canadians didn't get a single power play. I have to look that up now. But...
and then if you need any evidence, look at that high stick on Corey Perry. He took a brutal high stick to the face, 0 call.
Because it's Corey Perry. That's exactly why.
I mean, I'm a Habs fan.
I know,
but also I'm not a Corey Perry fan. So I was like, the Habs. A lot of
people who would say he's a pest, right?
He absolutely is a pest. I don't want him on my team, and whatever, it is what it is. But he ended up getting all messed up, and he had to leave to get all stitched up. And in the meantime, Montreal won. So I was like, hey, Corey Perry got smashed in the face, and the Montreal Canadiens win. That's a big night for me. I was happy with that outcome. So,
have a Moosehead logger on that one.
Speaking of not being in the game, let's talk about Dominic Ducharme. Positive for COVID, misses the game, and then the assistant coach has to step up and call a game in the playoffs against one of the best teams in the league, hence why they're one of the 4 remaining in Vegas. So a lot of the panel, and I'm going to actually throw this over to Zoner because you were making the point actually the other day about this. So what was your takeaway from what the panel was saying before the game there?
Right. So the Sportsnet panel was unanimous, saying that having the head coach miss a game is not that big a deal. Bieksa, with his usual smarm and sarcasm, actually said that I've played for coaches for 2 years who hadn't said a single word to me, right, and on the bench or even in the dressing room. So he said he didn't think it was a big deal. Hockey is different from basketball, different from football, where the coaches call plays, right? Like, yes. So in the middle of a game, hockey, it's a free-flowing game similar to soccer, right? Where the players are the ones who are deciding it out on the field or on the ice. And so the coaching really happens before the game happens. Like, so you're setting up the systems, you're training the players to have certain tendencies. This way, we like to do breakups like this. During the main thing is time management. This matchup, I want. That's the coach's main thing. And Luke Richardson's been an assistant for a little while now, and he was a very successful player for a while now. So, I mean, it's not that the head coach is inconsequential, but it's not as huge of a as some people, I think, and especially in a team like Montreal where they pretty 4 lines. And also at this point of the season too, where team's been together, you've got chemistry, you've got, like, it's not like you've got somebody coming in who doesn't know what they're doing.
All of the players know what's happening. But to play devil's advocate for a second on your point, you get a guy that gets hurt. How do you shuffle the lines? Right? You're getting beat on this one side. They're doing something different. You have to make adjustments on the fly. How do you make that adjustment? Who do you put with who? Who do you put out there? Power play. Your best power play guy is injured, or you're going on the penalty kill and your best penalty killer is the guy in the box. I know that they have sort of systems set up for that to a certain point, but there is a lot to be said for in-game sort of adjustments, as you said, and things like that. And I think a coach is important on the bench. But with the technology we have today, and the fact that between periods, they were on a video call with Dom Ducharme, who was like weighing in and giving like, okay, do this, do that. Here's what's happening. Here's what I'm seeing. Da 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 da. And it's probably, I don't know. It's maybe giving them an advantage because you have an assistant coach that's been watching the system from the bench all year, who kind of can step up and be like, and it's not like Dom Ducharme was there all year either, let's be honest. But Dom Ducharme can now watch this from a completely different vantage point, watching it on TV, getting the benefit of all those extra couple of seconds to look at the replays and this, that, and the other thing, right? He's seeing the game because of the technology that we're implementing in all of these. He's seeing the game and possibly more of the game than he would be able to from the bench. He just can't make those adjustments on the fly. So Mr. McKnight, any opinions on that? Coaching, head coaches on the bench being important or not, or what?
No, very important. And like you explained it very well there to me, because it's like the coaching and the play making decisions happen way before the game, and it just goes to validate the video sessions, right? And I was like, oh, well, that's why they spend so much time, doing that. And in basketball, because that's one of the first sports I played before I picked up hockey. It's like, yeah, like the point guard guy is the the second coach who's always just like there to try to tell him what to do, tell him what to run. And yeah, this happens way before, and Zoner just literally validated every single point to clarify everything that I probably wanted to ask. So basically, I just have to agree with that. So thank you.
Okay.
There is one anecdote that really does back up Mark's assertion, though, where in-game management can be very important. And this goes way back to Scotty Bowman, who is regarded as probably the best coach in history. And I forgot who it was, but they were telling a story of how they're coaching against Scotty Bowman, and they had a rookie defenseman on his team. He was trying hard to shelter this guy and trying to hide him from the top line of the Canadiens, which at that time had Guy Lafleur, Steve Shutt, and Jacques Lemaire. And so the game was actually going well. The game was tied, and he was pretty happy. And I think he said he let his concentration slip for a second, and there was like a super fast line change up happening on the other side of the ice. And lo and behold, his defenseman, the rookie guy, steps on the ice, and less than 15 seconds later, all of a sudden Guy Lafleur's on there, one-on-one against this rookie. 10 seconds later, there's a goal.
Yeah. Guy Lafleur is not a guy you want coming at one of your rookies, that's for sure. That's an unfortunate matchup. But
he does have great hair, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But you could see it back then. It's hard to see people's actual flow anymore. That's that away. Unless you're with his whole head and face area. Probably.
I'm going to look up to see if Carey Price cut his Manson stage. Maybe this has a lot to do with this stellar play here.
I wanted to bring up a vis-a-vis Dom Du. How nervous are all players for the next 4 days until they get tested and have their tests come back, right? Because all of them are wondering, oh, the coach got COVID. Did he get it somewhere where we were together? Like, are we going to have to postpone some games? If you got Carey Price over there, what was it the other night?
The Jets or the Montreal Canadiens fan club should take up a collection and buy Carey Price a hazmat suit to travel to and from games, and even to sit in the dressing room, just to stay away from his teammates, like just be completely safe, because he's the key to them winning.
Yeah. 100%. And
coaching and goaltending. Yep.
So it's just a scary thing when you have a guy get out of the lineup for any reason, but COVID is a huge deal right now. Obviously, it's been a deal since February of 2020, and we're now in June of 2021. So I think we're all getting tired of hearing the word COVID, coronavirus, all that, pandemic, everything. But at the same time, like, until it goes away, this is a huge concern. And when you're a sports club trying to run your playoff run, that, like, having that in your has to affect you on some level mentally, whether you get the disease or not. And mentally, you have to be thinking all the time, like, oh, have I washed my hands enough? Have I done this? Have I done that? A lot of little things that take your mind off of, okay, when this guy comes down the wing, this is how I have to move. This is how I have to, like, it takes your mind off of you prepping for the game when you're wondering, like, oh crap, do I have this like seriously contagious disease now, So I thought that was something that the Montreal Canadiens as a group dealt with very well. And I mean, Carey Price better than anyone, as evidenced by his play the other night, all pointed out by Zoner there. So things have gone very, very well for the Montreal Canadiens as of late. So let's throw it out to you. Who, I don't know what you're clicking on now, but we have a crazy echo, Mr.
Sorry.
McKnight. So who do you think is actually going to win Have you got a choice?
It's very hard to write off the Montreal Canadiens, but I just believe in Barry. I believe in Barry Trotz, so I'm going with the Islanders. I like the way they're playing. Even though they lost Game 3 against the Boston Bruins at home, one thing I noticed in the last 3 minutes, the New York Islanders, even at full strength on both sides, they were playing as if like they were on a power play. So they really had a lot of time with the puck, a lot of puck possession, to really quote the sports line for that one. And they really dominated their time with it. They managed it very well. And I think that it's going to be very hard for them to. I'm going with an Islanders and Montreal finals. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's bold. Okay, Islanders Montreal final.
I must say, watching those games in New York, like there's the Nassau Coliseum. Where are they playing now?
Yeah,
they built a new arena, right, back on the island. If I'm not mistaken, because Nassau was like falling apart apparently.
Yeah. It's singing, but they haven't been late. Well, especially not this week. It was like that all night. That was something to watch.
Who are you saying cup? We know now.
I'm think they're gonna only many miracle saves per game. The Montreal D is playing well. Chances, and I think eventually Juggernaut breaks through. So I think Vegas is
tense all the way around.
I know. I don't zoner because I would love to see Montreal break through. But I mean, at this point, I think Golden Knights as well. It's what I said last. It's but he's to keep this momentum going. The Vegas Golden Knights, as we've talked about in previous series, they were down against Colorado, the best team in the league, the team I originally thought was going to win the cup, and they came back and they won. And I don't know if Montreal has that kind of fight in them to put up against what Zoner always calls the Borg. We are Borg.
Yeah, so it's the offensive Borg versus the defensive Borg in this series. So it's really, maybe that's why it's been entertaining to watch.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's gonna get down to the wire. I'm very excited about the whole thing. But 7? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Series. It's 6 or 7 is probably where it's going to go. It looks like the Tampa series is going to have a similar outcome, 6 or 7 games for sure. I mean, it has to be at least 6 now. So, doesn't it? They played 4.
Well, it's a tied series. So
yeah, right. Yeah, it's tied 2-2, and they've already played the 4 games. So, I mean, it has to go a minimum of 6 games.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it all comes out in the end. But I think the Islanders are going to come out of that series. I really think you're onto something here with Barry Trotz, and he was highly praised by Kevin Bieksa of all people in the last game I watched. So I think that was the last night's game, right? I'm not getting those 2 nights mixed up. Okay, I forget tonight. I think 7 Central is the Montreal Vegas game. So very exciting times, obviously, in the hockey world. Was there anything else from this season for the Jets that we wanted to discuss and get off our chest?
I think one last thing is right now there's 3 defensemen on the market that are big names.
Seth Jones,
Dougie Hamilton, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So if you had, if cost was no barrier, and if you had your pick, your wish list, like
Dougie Hamilton.
No, we're taking Seth Jones because time that Chevy makes to become a mover and a shaker. Let's go, Chevy.
Yeah,
Open
but
so why would you pick Jones over Hamilton? So
I don't know. I was just because I liked it.
But okay, so I say Hamilton over Jones. Jones has not always had the most positive attitude about his situations and whatnot, and he's kind of outspoken. And I think that moving that guy to Winnipeg is it's just going to cause all kinds of problems. And I don't think he's a guy who's going to mesh well in the dressing room with the rest of the guys. And in Winnipeg, when you're playing here, that's very important. Having a little bit of chemistry with the other guys that are on the team, at the very least, wanting to be here. You know, you don't have to get along with everybody, but you have to want to be here, and you have to want to buy into the system. And Seth Jones strikes me as a guy, given his history, that doesn't buy in like other people do. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, it does.
So, but Dougie Hamilton, I love watching that guy play. I'd love to see him play here. That Larson is also a guy I would love to see play here. But I mean, if you get your pick, Dougie Hamilton's a proven, like, very skilled defenseman. So I'd be okay with that. Who's your pick, Zoner?
I think it's a tough one, but see, Oliver Ekman-Larsson seems to be in the market every 2 years he ends up resigning to Phoenix. so I don't know what it is with when he's going to resign. So I'm taking him off my list already. If I had my wish list, I think it'd be Hamilton as well. It's really close. I think Seth Jones is actually the more physical player. Hamilton is bigger, but he seems to play more of a finesse style. I mean, almost like the way Tyler Myers used to be the biggest, second biggest guy in the ice, right? But he never threw his weight around unless he really, really had to. Like Myers preferred to dangle and pass and knock the puck off your stick, but not really body you much. And I think Dougie plays similar. But Hamilton's, well, I live out in the West Coast, so I don't really see a lot of East Coast games. not as much as I should. And so when I was checking out his stats, I was surprised just how productive he's been offensively.
But he's also just to your point, he's much more physical than Tyler Myers was. Like I said, okay. I know you're comparing him to big guys that don't hit, but he is a lot more physical. He's not a smash into you, but he's a use his body to move you in front of the net. He's use his size to go into that corner and come out with a puck. He's not just going to reach in and poke the puck like Myers did. He's going to hit you. It's just not going to be like Dustin Byfuglien-esque. He's not in the corner crushing people and hoping that the puck is there when he's done. He knows where the puck is. He has a much more purposeful movement to his hitting and not hitting, and I think he's a lot smarter, a lot more heads up of a player than your Tyler Myers, or contrary to that, one of your big hitters like Byfuglien. Like he chooses, okay, now is the time to put the body in. Now is not. He's not. I don't think he's scared of doing it. I think he recognizes this is the highest percentage play, and he makes that play. So I think that's sort of more where he sits. But that's been my observation of him. But I've been watching it because I was on the East Coast for a while, and So anyway,
yeah.
Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, thanks for the info. That helps. It is close though, because I think Seth Jones is 2 years younger. He's a little bit bigger. Well, actually, no, he's not bigger. Hamilton's actually bigger. But I guess I'd go with Hamilton just because of the experience, proven he can do it on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Whereas Jones has been a little bit up and down in his short career, but still, there's tons of potential there with Seth Jones. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one. But
Seth Jones soured himself to me the day he was drafted. Actually, when he was very, very upset that he went 4th overall, and
is he going number one?
He thought he was going number one. Remember, like Tampa Bay had first pick. And
Did they? I'm just Googling it right now. So McKinnon went first overall that year.
Oh, right, to Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado had first pick. And
that's
Tampa
why he
Bay,
wanted to go to Colorado.
Tampa Bay had third picker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tampa Bay had third pick, and it gets to them, and they've got Seth Jones sitting there, who was essentially groomed by Joe Sakic, who was in charge of choosing for the Tampa Bay Lightning that very day. What's
Colorado. No, Joe Sakic was Colorado.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he on Tampa, but I'm ready for him to go first overall. He's ready to go first overall. All of the pundits are like Seth Jones. It's a shoe-in. You know, he's been groomed by Joe Sakic. He's this, he's that. He's this big, strong guy. You know, he proved himself at the Memorial Cup the previous year. He nearly won it for I think it was the Portland Whitehawks he was playing for. But that was the year that Halifax won. So, Seth Jones. Because Nathan McKinnon and Jonathan Drouin went and showed him up. And then they both got picked over him. So, he ended up going fourth. And he was so sour about that. And I just remember thinking, this guy has to learn the business of the game isn't always the same as, you know, what you want to have happen and how your friends hope it'll happen. And yeah, you're friends with Joe Sakic and he really helped develop you, but he's got to make the best decision for his team. And I don't think that anyone can argue that Joe Sakic made the right call that day, other than Seth Jones. He's going to argue that till he dies. But Nathan McKinnon was 100% the right decision for Colorado. Like, am I wrong?
He's got a couple MVPs behind him, so no, he's not wrong.
The guy is a superstar, a stud. Yeah. And can you imagine if he ended up anywhere else? We would the entire league would look differently. Like Nathan McKinnon is that kind of a player. He's a Connor McDavid kind of player. He's a changes the game kind of player. So Seth Jones is not a changes the game kind of player and never has been since junior. And like that's the thing. In Seth Jones' head, I'm a legend in junior, therefore I will be a legend in the NHL. And that doesn't always pan out. Ask Alexander Daigle how that worked for him. Being a superstar for the Drummondville Tigre in the QMJHL, showing up in Ottawa and being like, Alexander, who is this guy? Right? McKnight, since you're just sitting there throwing things at your computer, apparently, why don't you weigh in on this?
I dropped something there. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Seth Jones. Okay, we've eliminated. You say Seth Jones. Are you sticking with your guns there? What do you think?
Anymore. Not anymore, because he might not be the locker room guy, and that's always important, right? Because that's just what it all really boils down to. If there's no chemistry there, and I guess Anyways,
I am willing to give him a mulligan though, because he was 18 years old when that happened. So.
True, but but to your point, he hasn't really produced like he did in the juniors ever since. He hasn't produced like Dougie Hamilton has. He hasn't been as effective at changing a game like Ekman Larsson, and although he's got a lot more of an uphill climb, Ekman Larsson. So, but sorry, I cut
think
you off.
The last piece in favor of Jones is that for the last couple of years, his coach was John Tortorella.
And you know what?
So,
that's completely
he
fair.
Might have been working on a little bit of a handicap there. Yeah,
that's completely fair. So maybe if he got out from under a guy that yells at you for breathing funny, then I mean maybe there's a little more confidence that he could build and he could work his way up. But I just feel that Seth Jones over Dougie Hamilton would be a silly decision. I think Dougie Hamilton he's everything that we could want as a player, and he's got the attitude that backs it up, and he's got the drive to win. The statistics support him. if you want to look at it by the numbers. I just don't think that there's an angle you look at those two guys and go, oh, let's take Seth Jones over Dougie Hamilton. Until it comes down to like trying to acquire one of them, and there's like hitches in the actual contract or the logistics behind getting him into the game. So all of that said, was there anything else that either of you two wanted to throw out there before we take a quick break and I bring on our panelists for the second half here?
No, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you've thrown enough things at your computer today? You're good?
Yes.
All right, let's go Valour.
Go Valour. All right. So, yes, we will be switching it up. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining me. This has been Keith McKnight over on my left here, and all the way over to the other side. That is Neutral Zoner, Redditor, and friend of the LZ Sports Show. So, thank you both for being here. We will see you guys. Keith, you're going to be here anyway. It's fine. But Zoner, you're always welcome. We'll be getting close to the draft, the act, and all that. Let's meet up there. Then I'm gonna play a quick 30-second ad, and we'll be back after I get everyone situated here in the LZ. See you in a bit.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aquatech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aquatech job, it's an Aquatech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dugald Road. Aquatech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
right. So, welcome back. I pressed the button, so I guess we're live. This is happening. Yeah. Are we? Yeah, we're here. So, I'm back, and I'm back with some friends. So, we're going to be talking Valour FC. You can see I got my my Macron or Macron. We can talk about the pronunciation of that on today's show if you like. But I am joined by Nikki Cote, president of Red River Rising. How are you today?
I'm pretty well. How about you?
I'm pretty good. And I am also joined by Adam Johnston, founding member of Red River Rising, rocking one of the new jerseys, by the way.
Yeah. Got it yesterday. Woo.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I will have one eventually, but I have this sweet shirt on, so it's okay. I got this sweet zip up like track jacket. I feel very fancy.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
we got some echoing happening. Sorry. There we go. Fixed. I didn't want to get into the interviews and stuff and have any echoing happening like I did last week with Adam for the first couple of questions. So, big things going on. We talked about it last week, Nikki. You weren't here, but what we're going to get your initial thoughts on. First of all, that we get to have a season, and secondly, that's the whole first half of it is going to happen right here in our backyard in Winnipeg. So, how does that make you feel?
First, obviously, I'm excited and looking forward to it, but there's just so many mixed emotions around all of it. So happy to have them back and playing, but I do worry that it's also rushed, and I worry about injuries, even for our guys who have at least had 6 weeks, but the rest of the league. So I've got worries around sort of just jumping into a season, but at the same time, as a fan, like yesterday, we went to sing for the team at practice, and it just felt so good to be back at the stadium, even if we weren't in the stadium, just kind of peeking in and singing and seeing them and knowing they were down there playing. So I can't wait for us to be able to get back in there, but I do have reservations. I'm not worried about sort of the bubble, even us being sort of COVID capital of the world. Like, I believe they'll keep that tight. It's going to have almost no bearing, I don't think, on what's going on out here. So in that respect, I'm not worried. I do worry a bit about the injuries. So fingers crossed that I'm just being a worrywart and it's for nothing, but we'll see.
We talked very briefly last week, sort of about, and Adam sort of laid out kind of what Red River Rising does and what the meaning of the group is. As president, would you care to make some sort of speech, or no? Sort of lay out a little bit more about what your mandate is, and a little more detail about how you got started and what that means for the soccer community here in town?
Yeah, I can talk about. I'm going to guess Adam probably covered it pretty well, because Red River Rising is really Adam's baby. So he was the person who put that first call out and said, hey, everybody who wants to get together, kind of did all that work, getting our scarf going and the logo contest. And so when you say founding member, I mean, like, truly the founding member. So I'm sure he gave you a good rundown, but generally speaking, I mean, we're a group of people that have come together initially as a small group that were passionate about the idea of bringing soccer and professional soccer back to Winnipeg. But since then, we've grown beyond. I mean, we've got a mix of people that are experiencing professional soccer for the first time. Some of them are experiencing with their kids. We've got people that have come in having grown up in some of the great soccer nations of the world, experiencing soccer, and are just so thankful to finally have it played here in their hometown and bring their kids to see that in a live environment. We're an inclusive group. We believe, like, wherever you come from, whatever your stance is, if this is brand new to you, if you're a hardcore supporter, anywhere in between, you're welcome with us. And I think that's a pretty cool thing that we've fostered within our group. It's a pretty neat. I mean, as you know, you're part of that too. So I'm just personally quite proud of the culture that we've got going within the Trench.
And I commend that, because, I'm a guy that I bought a season ticket. I bought a single season ticket because it's just me, right? And so, I mean, I bring my daughter sometimes, but I bought the one season ticket, and I would just go sit with a bunch of people. I don't know. And I happen to be front row in the trench. So it's kind of an awesome place to stand to meet like-minded soccer fans and people who are just as loud as me, which is nice because that isn't always something I find everywhere. Mind you, Chris Graves of the King's Head is by far the loudest in the stands, I have to say.
Yeah, he's definitely, no one's going to top that for sure.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank Red River Rising for sort of making way for people like myself who, I'm not from Winnipeg originally, and I love soccer, and to get a professional soccer team here has been phenomenal. So I'm very, very happy to be part of that. So thank you guys for building that. And just before we get into more specific for the season stuff, how exactly, because this is only the second episode that we've been talking Valour, and can you elaborate and sort of tell us more about how involved was RRR, Red River Rising, in the actual formation of Valour FC as a whole?
I'm sure Adam will have some input here too. In terms of, we formed before Valour was a thing, or before Winnipeg Football Club was announced as one of the founding ownership groups. But I'm sure at the same time we were forming and doing our things, they probably had all that stuff going on in the background as well. But Rob Gale, who knows? I don't know what point he was signed on, but before there was a team and before he was announced as a coach, he had reached out to us, and he's been supportive of what we were doing and growing right from the beginning. So that was pretty cool on his part. And that's kind of given us a bit of a window into a view into what's going on in there. We were quite involved in at least giving our feedback once they'd come up with a short list of names and sort of branding and all that kind of stuff. We got to give our feedback on what we liked. I think it was pretty universal within the group around the table. We thought Valour was a pretty good fit for a name. So we hoped that's what they would pick, but still we didn't know. Like everybody else on that day when it got revealed, we were waiting. And so that anticipation was pretty cool. So we've had little bits going, and sort of they reach out to us for some input and, hey, what do you think? But we are still pretty independent, and we don't have in terms of Valour forming, I would say, I guess we have a pretty small input there, but I don't know if you want to add more out there, Adam.
No, that's pretty much accurate description. He did have some input, but I'm sure the Winnipeg Football Club had the plans going long before we even suggested what they could do and that. So I think that's pretty much an accurate description of what occurred there.
Awesome. So is there, what is the next step for Red River Rising as a group then? Cause you've sort of helped bring an actual professional team to town. You're helping build the community around it. What is the next phase, or is there a next phase at this point, given the pandemic and all that? Was there a plan and then it got kiboshed, or has this pandemic given you time to come up with a plan for what the future might hold for our Red River Rising and all that? So where do we sort of sit on all Red River Rising and the future for that specific organization?
You want to go first, Adam? Or I've got thoughts, but I don't want to keep taking all the.
Yeah, we can start with Adam.
I think that's a very good question. I think the pandemic definitely did provide some challenges of what we'd like to do and where to go from here. And I'd be interested to see what the future holds for us. We've done very well the first year, but it's like the pandemic last year put a bit of a challenge of what could have done and what we wanted to do. But hopefully, as things slowly get normal, hopefully we can get back on track to what we'd like to do. So
yeah, and I'd say year one, honestly, and I think Adam would probably agree with this, we kind of hoped that by the end of the season we would have come together as a group in the trench and got all the songs down, and we're starting to get loud. So when we came out and did that in the first game, It for sure was beyond our wildest dreams of what we hoped for. I mean, with a new group, a new team, all of that, the learning curve. So we were quite ecstatic to see that we had already started from that point with the songs. And I mean, a big part of that's thanks to Ian Smith for writing us some pretty fantastic songs. So, we just kind of carried on for that season, happy with the fact that we'd kind of achieved where we wanted to be at the end in the beginning. But in the off season, we knew that the next step we wanted to sort of move to was incorporating some more of the culture into our section. So, more banners, more signs, more TIFO, working on executing that. So we've definitely bought up a lot of paint and fabric in the off season. Now it's time to sort of start getting that going. We'd love to have more like giant flags waving and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, we're a bit limited there. That's going to be a bit more work with the club because they will only let us have the size of flagpoles we have now. So you can't put a big flag on a tiny flagpole. So that's going to be a bit of an evolving thing. So it's just kind of working on building the culture and maybe working within our group, the group of people that come together in the trench, and bringing in more of the culture from, like, there's so many different people with different soccer culture backgrounds. We'd love to see more of that in the stands.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I've noticed, because again, I mentioned earlier, I'm not originally from Manitoba. So when I moved here, I was actually surprised at how big the soccer community in this town is, for being, let's say 1 million people, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, depending on whether you're talking outside the perimeter or not, it's either too big or too little. So we'll say a million-ish people. And that's a pretty big town. And I moved here from Halifax, Nova Scotia, population 420,000. And we had a pretty decent, or I thought, we had a pretty decent soccer community in Nova Scotia. And I think we still do, given our population, I should say. But when I moved here and I started playing here in town, the how many divisions are there for the men's side? Like 9 divisions for men's soccer. I was absolutely blown away. Sorry, I don't know where my phone is. I hear it going off, but I don't know where it is. Doesn't matter. We trudge on. It's people just saying Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Are you a dad, Adam?
Not a chance, man.
Not a chance. Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. Not for all dads, but keep it up. It's being a dad is a calling, and sometimes you get called, and sometimes you miss the call, and they show up anyway. It is what it is. It's I love my kids. They were on earlier on the episode. I don't know if you caught the first couple of minutes, but I had them waving hello, and they got me a bunch of nice stuff. It was very nice. But so happy Father's Day to all the dads that are out there in sports land. And I guess so we send that out. But I forget where I was going with all. I got distracted by my phone, as I am wont to do. But yeah, well, I guess we're done with that point then. So the next thing that we want to talk about, there were some schedule changes, and I'm going to bring up the schedule real quick. There were some schedule changes. This, the June schedule, the 2 in June, the 27th and 30th, have not changed. But if you look at July, there was a change made on the 7th and the 15th. So now it's a 9 p.m. start for that York United game, and the Atletico Ottawa game is a 4 p.m. start on Thursday, the 15th of July. So keep looking at the website for those that are looking to watch and or when we can actually go to the stadium, get tickets or whatnot. But I can't press the right button ever. Oh, man, I can't be a producer and host. I got to start handing over the hosting duties to someone. There's tweaking going on constantly, sometimes due to COVID, sometimes due to, just the logistics of the stadium itself, having multiple games in a day, this, that, and the other thing. So keep your eyes on that. We will try and keep updated graphics on the website whenever you come watch this show on the WPG.ca. That's we'll try and make sure that they're updated there. So I asked Adam last week how how fun is it that we get to play all these games right here in town, like in such a short window? Like there's a lot of games in a short period. So what are your thoughts on that, Nikki?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I wish we could be in there, but it's nice kind of knowing that they're here. I mean, I don't know how amenable they're going to be allowing the teams to hang the signs and banners, but I've got in the back of my head. I love the idea that we could potentially in the moment say, oh my gosh, after this thing happened, this banner would be awesome. Make it and get it there, which no one else can do. So that's kind of cool. I worry a little bit about the compact schedule, like that first week with 3 games. That worries me a bit, especially when they haven't had any competitive preseason, haven't trained a whole lot. So it's going to be fun to watch all those games, like from a fan perspective. But I do worry. I worry that it's too much. The second week, it looks like, if I remember correctly, I think we only have 1 game, so maybe we can take a little bit of a breather there. But fingers crossed again. We'll see.
Well, the other side of that coin is that the other teams also haven't had competitive preseason, and so yes, we're going into that pretty unprepared. But it's even keel across the board as far as that's concerned. So that's
except for Ottawa. That's the thing that's worrisome. I mean, they had a solid 2 months with friendly games over there in Spain. Like, we'll see what that looks like when they get on the pitch versus everyone else. That's a little worrisome. But
the reason that happened, for a lot of you out there that may not know, Atletico Ottawa is part of Atletico Madrid's sort of, what is it, academy system? I don't even know what to call.
World domination.
Yeah, like, so how do we get a Valour into a system like that? What and if we could get somebody into the system like that, what team would you pick? Let's start with Adam. If you could pick a team to drop into their system, who would you love to have adopt us as our soccer daddy?
That's a good question. I don't know. It probably like and they wanted to spend some cash. It's like, hey, let's go spend on a soccer club in Canada. Let's give some to some prairie club. One of those 2 I would pick.
Man, either Barcelona in Europe or Boca Junior down in South America. Yeah, I could go either way. That way. Nikki, do you have any thoughts on who you would love to have be our? It's Father's Day, so who's our soccer daddy? Who do you want?
Maybe, I mean, just a gut thought. I really honestly hadn't given it much thought before, but initially just thought a Bundesliga team would be pretty cool. And then I don't have a horse in that race at all, so maybe Bayern, because we know they love Canadians with Fonzie. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Bayern. Boca Juniors would be pretty cool too, though. Adam, that's a good pick.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere, Boca Juniors, but I like that choice. That's a good choice. I like your Bundesliga idea. When I look at the Bundesliga, I really like Borussia Dortmund, and I would love to see that kind of play out. That would actually be very, very, very cool. And when you say Bayern, I'm sure you mean Munich.
Yeah.
Not Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, I guess I should.
Mönchengladbach.
Everyone just assumes. I'm just clarifying. That's all.
Yeah.
Just being clear for no reason. But I think that would be really neat. But is there an opportunity for the CPL to partner with other leagues like that? Or have the teams that have already sort of developed themselves kind of miss the boat on that opportunity? Because Atletico Ottawa, as you said, the advantages that they are taking advantage of, being able to go and play friendlies and practice and have a full training regimen, that's a big deal. So can Valour, can it be done, do you think? Is that an opportunity that we can even look for? What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, especially when teams are already established, but I mean, maybe there's opportunity out there for some partnerships, some strategic partnerships would be cool. In a way, it was great to have an 8th team come in and much sooner than we thought, but it is a bit problematic to have, if you're not going to have every team in the league with that kind of backing, it's tricky and tough. So I kind of wish in a way we could even do something like in the NWSL, the Women's National Soccer League. They had a new team coming in, and they announced LA as a new team for, I think, next season. I can't remember the season they're starting, but
That's next year. Yeah.
Brought in an ownership group that was made up of tons and tons of well-known people and people with lots of money. And then that model now has been sort of copied even with existing teams within the NWSL. So you're starting to see other teams have people buy into the ownership group, and sometimes it's just high-profile people. They bring more attention to the sport. Sometimes it's very wealthy people, sometimes wealthy and high-profile. Something like that, I think, would be pretty cool to see a CPL team do. But again, we're sort of, Canada's not the U.S., right? So there's a lot more well-known and wealthy people in the States. So I don't know. That's just I honestly hadn't even really kind of thought that one through, but maybe.
Adam, anything to add on that point?
I could see some potential down the road partnerships with some international clubs, especially after COVID and the need for the Canadian Premier League to possibly find other streams of revenue sources. So I could potentially see that, but at the same time, if that were to occur, that could be a bit problematic, especially if, let's say, you Valour is got a partnership with, I don't know, like FC Barcelona or something, and they provide money, but yet they take our players away whenever they need them. So it's a catch-22, to be honest. So yes, I think it'd be, don't want to sell your soul time. So
yeah, that's a fair point. So then the other way, because FC they're the team in town as far as soccer is concerned. As far as Canadian soccer is concerned, that is the highest level, which is period. I mean, you can talk about TFC and what is it? Club de Football Montreal. I almost said Impact, but they changed their name. Club de Football Montreal, and the Whitecaps, but they're part of a U.S. driven league, and that league allows the U.S. to then host things like the World Cup. Canada, this is our league. This is our game. We're doing it different. Of course, we do everything different in Canada for whatever reason. So we talked briefly, sort of mentioned the other rules, like certain players, you have to play certain players a certain number of minutes. They have to be, this many minutes played by players under 23 from Canada, Like there's a lot of regulations that other leagues don't have to contend with. But do we see the future here in Winnipeg or Canada in general? The Valour Academy itself. So forget having a soccer daddy. Why not be a soccer daddy? Develop talent here in Manitoba. And what does that future look like? What is the team doing now? And what does the future look like? Can we put it in that sort of order? Like, what are we doing now? Because I know there's girls soccer and women's soccer that the team is involved with and trying to help support, but I don't know all of the details as well as you. So that's why you are here. So Nikki, do you have any sort of insight into that?
I don't know about how much insight, but I know it seemed very much, I can't remember if it was explicit or just sort of more implicitly indicated early on with the CPL. They really seemed from a league level to be against the idea of academies. I get the feeling like that's kind of changing, and I think that would be a good thing. Like, it is a shame. Rob does a good job of sort of working and bringing in some of the younger local players into training and that kind of thing. But we definitely need something more established where people that, like the kids that we're training up, are playing regularly in regular matches and can move up and down. Like, even in terms of, when they announced the 3 players under 23 rule, I thought that was fantastic. Like, I love the idea of making sure there's a space for some of the young players. But now, as we've kind of moved on and we've got to the point where there are some players that are aging out of that 23, I realize there's nowhere for those players to go. If they're, they could be on that trajectory. And if we have to have 3 under players. Somebody turns 24, maybe we still want to work and develop that player, but we've got a small roster caps, and we have to sign 3 more new under 23 players. So where do those guys go? If we had an academy, they could maybe move back down, continue developing, and then come back up, and maybe we're moving in and out those 23s. I would like to see something more like that.
Right. Instead of like a straight up academy system where it's, we have all the squads at all the age levels all the way down. But I think I would like to see something like that for the kids where, they get to wear the Valour, the V on their chest when they're playing, and I think there should be something really that gives kids something to look forward to. So, Adam, thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much the same thing. I think it's probably time that we look at developing the youth players here in Winnipeg and Manitoba, and the idea of having an academy for our youth to wear that V crest would be good, and especially when you're let's say you're on the cusp of finishing you're being 23, 24, and you got nowhere to go. It'd be nice to like you said, develop further skills in the academy, and maybe even mentor younger players in the academy as well at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's important to have kids have a place to go, like, and I don't mean that in like a go to the stadium. I mean like to have a trajectory and have like I grew up as military kids who moved around a lot. There was, I watched some Kingston Frontenac games in Kingston, Ontario, but and you get to see some of that stuff, but on TV, like that's where it was. Like it was the NHL, it was playing in the World Cup for me because I was a soccer player and a hockey player all growing up, and it was things like that. It gave me a lot of like drive and desire, and I ended up going pretty far with my hockey and soccer to a point, and I really enjoyed the grind to get there, and it gave me something to sort of target. And as I got older, I decided that's not what I want to do with my life, as it turns out. But I had that thing I was driving towards, and it gave me another option for something to do as a professional, as something I could do as a job. When you're 6 and you're just like, I want to be an astronaut. And, but I was like, I want to be a professional soccer player. I want to be a professional hockey player. And there wasn't really, in Canada, hockey was a lot more accessible. Soccer, very, very much less so. And so becoming a professional soccer player, there's more and more kids because of the CPL, and the MLS started it sort of. And, seeing an ability to play professional soccer very close to home. You don't have to get noticed magically and then get grabbed and dragged across the pond to go play in the EPL. There's a league here. There's a couple of leagues here that are professional soccer leagues that you could take advantage of as a player. So yeah, I would love to see more development on that end of the game, especially here, from Valour down, straight down through Manitoba, like creating an actual academy. And it's unfortunate to hear the words, like explicit or implicitly one way or the other, that the league sort of leans against that. Does that make sense? Yeah. I kind of don't like hearing that. That makes me sad. So is there something that could be done to sort of change that?
I mean, it's tricky because I think the league's plan is they would like to be running that Division 2 league at some point, and I don't know whether they still see League One Ontario and all that kind of stuff as Division 3. But the problem is, like, our young players can't wait for that to happen. So, we keep hearing these rumblings about an alternate Division 2 league starting up with like FC Manitoba and a few other teams. So I know that in some ways maybe works against what the CPL is doing. I hope we don't see a lot of infighting, but I just think it can't be a bad thing to have more opportunity for younger kids to play at all levels. So I kind of am watching that with a lot of interest, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's been rumored and whatnot. And Adam, you briefly mentioned it last week, this Division 2 rumor. Do you know anything about it, or is it literally that's it? That's the rumor?
FC Manitoba, nobody is saying anything officially about whether there's aspirations for a Division II league, but they have put out in press releases that they're building a team and working towards some games, and towards having some kind of a season in some kind of a league with Foothills and some other teams. So, I mean, there's a little bit out there that it's like there is something happening. It's just exactly what it is and what it's going to look like is a little murky.
Right. And I mean, for myself, when I moved here, I wanted to continue playing soccer. And so I didn't really have any connections here, and I put some feelers out, and I went and I tried out I ended up playing in Division 1, which is just underneath what was the Admiral Premier League. I'm not sure if that's still what it's called, but yeah, it's been, with the pandemic especially, it's just been so hard to get on the field and logistically get it done. And so now we're just asking all these hypothetical questions with no no sort of like reality underneath it anymore. So quickly changing gears, because giving kids sort of is what we hit on briefly. Haiti in the World Cup qualifying versus Canada. Do we want to talk about that ever so briefly?
Sure. Why not? I'm ecstatic. I can't believe first time in like 25 years, Canada. Yeah, almost around 25 years, Canada's going to the final round in World Cup qualifying. That's like almost a quarter century. Like that's the way they can grind out some results in the octagon, the Oct they're calling it.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because it's 8 teams. It's going to be chaos. But what I love about it is that when you look at the group that Canada is in, it's not, I mean, the US and Mexico, you have to think stand the best chance, but it's top 3 go, and the 4th place team goes into some sort of playoff to see if they can go, right? So finishing 4th or better means you continue on. 3rd or better means you're straight up in.
Right. Yeah.
So, U.S. and Mexico, you have to assume are probably going to qualify. I mean, Honduras is in there, so they're. What was the other one that I thought was going to be a
Costa Rica?
I think Canada can handle Costa Rica, to be honest. But the team, that's sort of my point. The team we have this year, I don't think a 4th place finish is out of reach. I don't think a 3rd place finish is completely off the table. The squad that they have this year with John David and Davies, are you kidding me? That kid's like that. We have some great players. We're playing great soccer, and it was unfortunate because we were playing Haiti, and Haiti did not have what I'm going to say was the best showing.
No.
So it's hard to really gauge. Was Canada really good or was Haiti just really bad? But I loved the way that Canada played. They were moving the ball. When the ball was, crossed across the field, those controlling touches were there. The heads up maneuvers were there. The pressure was on. That, like in that second leg of that. The 2 against Haiti, that goaltender stood on his head for the first half.
Yeah.
Right? Like how many saves did that guy make in the first half? More than most goalies make in 4 or 5 games, I think. And that was just the first half. And then that super unfortunate own goal that just makes me want to cry for that kid. But it was rough. So what did we think of Canada's performance? Did we like the way that they played, or was it unfortunate that they maybe didn't have the best opponent to sort of practice against? Let's go, Nikki, first.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because I think Haiti gave us pretty close to their best in the first game before they lost all the players that weren't allowed into the United States. But and we only won that game 1-0. But so many times we've gone into those CONCACAF away games and struggled a lot more. Like we did very, very well, I thought, in that game. And in the second half, or sorry, the first part of the second game, I thought, we got off to a slow start, and there were a couple of moments where I was like, oh, geez, guys, don't do this to us. You've done this enough times. But then they got everything together, especially in the second half when I guess that sort of gaff maybe kind of released some pressure. I don't know what, or maybe those goals. I mean, probably those other goals were coming anyway. But for sure, the next round is going to be tougher. Those are probably going to be some fantastic games to watch. So it's exciting in that perspective. And who knows? I've seen other people say this, and I would agree. By no means are we a sure thing to go on, but there's also absolutely tons of reason to hope. And you're right, we could be that third place team. I'm not saying we will be, but we can be, and that's pretty exciting.
I think so too. Adam?
I'm gonna throw this out. I thought the first game was a well-composed, compact game by the Caymans team. I thought they did very well in the first half of the little antsy, a little edge of your seat for a few moments, and then after the second half, after the own goal, it seemed like the floodgates opened up and Canada was able to qualify. And I think moving forward, going into the I think it'll be interesting to see how Canada plays against like the likes of Mexico, US. I think we've got a very stylish team, a very exciting team, and I'm excited about it. And they can probably challenge any one of those teams. And comparing to other teams, when I was watching actually briefly the CONCACAF Nations League when the US was playing, I got to kind of see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of that team in the semifinal when they played Honduras. I was not impressed with the US, to be honest. They looked kind of lackadaisical. I'm thinking, Canada could easily beat this team. And then the second game against Mexico, I saw a gritty, fight 'em US style that, if they were to play like every game, US would probably qualify for the World Cup based on that style. And I think that's the one game I'm really looking forward to is the style of the style of Canada versus the grit of the US. That'll be quite the fun pair of games to watch, actually.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the US has such there's such an expectation behind them, but that doesn't always pan out, And I think Canada, most of the world doesn't expect anything from Canada, and Canadian fans generally sort of aren't sold on Canada, winning anything. So we're just like, oh, we're just happy to be here. But I really think that this year, looking at the way that this octagon sort of shakes out, I really think that there's an opportunity for Canada to actually visit a World Cup. And maybe if we go, we'll score a goal or something during one of our prelim games, the group stage games. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves, I think. But it's not outside of the realm of possibility to see this squad actually win fourth or third place. And it would be really, really cool if we could manage to get in there. What are your speaking of Haiti, one of our captains is Haitian. So Andrew Jean-Baptiste hails from Haiti. How disappointed do you think he is, and how much razzing do you think he's taken in the dressing room from all those Canadians? Nikki?
Yeah, they're probably giving it to him a little bit. They're probably being sensitive, I suppose, a little bit because he wasn't able to go. I'm not sure what exactly is there, but I think there might have been other reasons why he couldn't go. So, yeah, I bet you they seem like a jovial, well-connected group. I think they seem like a group that probably likes to tease each other a bit and can take it back. So I bet there is a little bit of ribbing, but part of me was, glad not to see him on that initial Haiti roster because I didn't want to lose him from our training when it's so short. But you got to feel for somebody when they're not on that roster too. Like international play is something everybody is kind of striving for. So who knows? I bet there's a little bit of both, but a little bit of sensitivity too.
Would you not want him to go play and get some actual in-game experience? Maybe I know it doesn't help with the training in the stadium for the rest of the boys, but getting a little bit of that experience and being able to bring a little bit more of that back as a leader, I think that might have been good for him.
Would be good. It's always tricky though. CONCACAF's so rough, but I guess Canada isn't a rough team on our opponents the way. Yeah, so I guess, I mean, it would have been less risk playing Canada, so it probably would have been good for him to get some good match minutes in.
Adam, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm sure he got ribbed a little bit there in the dressing room, and I it was too bad that he didn't get a chance to play during these World Cup qualifiers. But I'm sure that down the road that if he'll get more opportunities. But yeah, I probably didn't want to be him in the last few days in that locker room. So
yeah, and that poor goaltender, man, for losing that game. But honestly, I think the way that Canada played in the first half could have been 8-0,
Yeah.
So poor guy, like obviously starting goaltender, as you mentioned, ended up being this what was he, the third stringer? So a young guy, 22 years old, something like that.
there isn't much heard actually.
Yeah, he's actually born, but he has dual citizenship. This against Canada, and he ends up costing the game. That's rough. That's rough. And about him, he lifts up his shirt and it's got Canada underneath it, because he's actually born here. So there was some fun stuff on the internet, and there was some mean things on the internet, as the internet is famous for. So, yeah. How are you guys worried about him that when that happens, or you figure he's young, he'll shake it off?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I felt so bad for him because he was in good shape to be able to come away from that game, even with a loss, going, wow, look what I did. That was amazing. And then now that's the only thing anybody's talking about. So
exactly.
The mom and me kind of wanted to give him a big hug, and I'm not a hugger, but that seemed like a hugging moment to me. So,
hey, I'm not a hugger, and I felt like hugging that kid. Like he just, that was so sad. Adam?
Yeah, that had to have been tough, especially on a younger player. I mean, if it was an older player, like a goalkeeper in their late 30s or 40s, I'm sure they would have been whatever. But yeah, someone younger like that probably takes a emotional toll that they probably won't forget for quite a long time. So yeah, I kind of felt bad for the kid. Made me want to go buy him an ice cream or something afterwards.
Yeah, those are your dad instincts. Good job. So was there anything else that we wanted to add today? I know we didn't get into a lot of specifics about Valour in particular, but that's coming as the season starts this week coming. What are our thoughts about Game 1? Let's do that real quick before we get out of here. So Game 1 being June 27th at 1 p.m. The season kicks off on 26th, but the 27th is when we're actually going to see our boys play. What do you think our odds are going up against a very, very talented team in Forge? Let's start quickly with Adam, and then we'll go back to Nikki.
They're the champions. I mean, if you want to be the best of the league, you go after the top team. So what a good way to start against Forge. And I mean, it looks like there's not been too many changes on that squad. I mean, they've kept it pretty much intact, and Coach Bobby still has his beard on. And yeah, I think it'll be an interesting challenge. So hopefully we'll can win. So I'm really looking forward to see how we match up against them next Sunday.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Nikki, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a challenge. Obviously we can say they're only gonna get a couple weeks training, so that's got to be an advantage for us. However, as Adam said, it's mostly the same roster from last year, team that won the championship, but also went on to continue to play games together all the way through December in the CONCACAF League. So they've definitely had a lot more games last year than we did. So that's going to be an advantage. And they've got some great players. And then the players they've brought in that are new look amazing. So yeah, the training thing is going to be a challenge for them, but I don't think we can sleep on that for sure. I still think we're maybe the underdogs there, but I also know our guys are going to go in and fight. So I'm interested to see how it goes.
I am ecstatic as well. I'm very much looking forward to it. Tune in 1:00. It's on One Soccer if you want to check that out. So our format for the show next weekend might be a little bit different than you're used to. We'll make an announcement about that this week. But first, I want to thank our guests, Nikki Cote, president of Red River Rising, and Adam Johnston, founding member of Red River Rising, for joining us today. Kyle Gilson was unable to attend based on some Father's Day activity plans by family, so we'll have him on at some point soon. Until then, thank you very much, and I'm just going to remind our viewers on the way out about our social media, on all them social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Smash the like button. It really, really helps. Every time you share it, the algorithm works really well. It's sending it out to more people. Do that. Next time, we will see you